Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a comprehensive exploration of a pivotal piece of legislation that has shaped the American workforce for over 8 decades, the Fair Labor Standards Act, or FLSA. In the intricate web of labor laws, the FLSA stands as a cornerstone, safeguarding the rights and well-being of millions of workers across the United States. Whether you're an employee striving to understand your entitlements or an employer aiming to ensure compliance, this video promises to be your indispensable guide. Enacted in 1938, the Fair Labor Standards Act emerged during a pivotal time in U.S. history, addressing the harsh working conditions and exploitation that plagued the labor force during the Great Depression. Its enduring legacy endows American workers with crucial protections, regulating key aspects of employment such as minimum wage, overtime pay, child labor restrictions, and record-keeping practices. As we embark on this journey to unravel the depths of the FLSA, we'll not only decipher its core provisions, but also unearth the historical context that birthed this landmark legislation. Throughout this video, we will demystify the complexities of the Fair Labor Standards Act, dissecting its key components, and clarifying how it affects both employers and employees in our modern society. By the end of this presentation, you will have a firm grasp of the FLSA's significance, its relevance in today's workplace, and the fundamental rights and responsibilities it confers upon all those engaged in the American labor market. So, without further ado, let's delve into the intricate world of the Fair Labor Standards Act and discover why it remains a bedrock of labor law in the United States. What is the Fair Labor Standards Act, FLSA? The Fair Labor Standards Act, FLSA, is a federal labor law that establishes a minimum wage, regulates overtime pay, and sets limits on child labor. Most U.S. employers are subject to FLSA standards. Key takeaways. The Fair Labor Standards Act, FLSA, protects workers by setting a minimum wage, regulating overtime pay, and restricting child labor. Non-exempt workers are those who are not exempt from the provisions of the FLSA. The FLSA sets a minimum wage of $7.25 per hour, but many states and localities have higher minimum wages. The Act does not require employers to give holiday, vacation, or sick pay. How the Fair Labor Standards Act works. The Fair Labor Standards Act, FLSA, regulates minimum wage, overtime pay, and child labor. The FLSA applies to most private employers as well as state, federal, and local government agencies, and it covers both part-time and full-time workers. The FLSA established the Wage and Hour Division, WHD, of the U.S. Department of Labor. This division enforces provisions of FLSA requirements. WHD also oversees other worker protections, such as the Family and Medical Leave Act, the Migrant and Seasonal Agricultural Worker Protection Act, and some provisions of the Consumer Credit Protection Act. Alternate name: the Fair Labor Standards Act of 1938. Acronym: FLSA. The Act has been amended frequently since its passage in 1938. Most changes to the FLSA have increased the minimum wage, which was initially set at 25 cents per hour. Other amendments have extended the legislation's coverage to industries such as public education and construction, as well as clarified which activities are related to working hours and must be paid. The Fair Labor Standards Act applies to organizations that engage in interstate commerce or produce or handle goods that are involved in interstate commerce and that meet one or more of the following criteria: have an annual gross volume of sales of $500,000 or more, operate a hospital, school, or institution of higher learning, are part of a public agency. Workers who are covered under the provisions of the FLSA are called non-exempt, meaning that they are not exempt from the protections of the law. Exempt workers include executives, professionals, administrative workers, outside sales employees, and some IT workers. Typically, exempt workers are paid a salary while non-exempt workers are paid an hourly wage. Freelancers and other independent contractors are largely exempt from the provisions of the FLSA. However, the FLSA applies to some domestic workers, such as babysitters, housekeepers, and nannies, provided that they earn a certain amount or work a certain amount per week or year per employer. What are the provisions of the FLSA? The FLSA covers 4 primary areas: minimum wage, overtime, record-keeping, and child labor. Minimum wage. The FLSA set the first federal minimum wage. Initially set at 25 cents per hour, the minimum wage has increased over 20 times since 1938. The current federal minimum wage is $7.25 $0.25. Many states and Washington, D.C., have set higher minimum wages than the federal mandate. 7. In addition, many cities and counties have enacted minimums that are higher than $7.25 per hour. Depending on state law, tipped employees may earn less than minimum wage, as long as their tipped wages raise their pay to meet the $7.25 standard. Employers are responsible for making up the difference if their pay falls short and are prohibited from taking any part of these workers' tips. Overtime. Non-exempt employees are entitled to overtime pay if they work more than 40 hours per workweek. Overtime pay is equal to 1.5 times the rate of regular pay. So, for example, if a worker earns $15 per hour and works 42 hours during one workweek, they will earn $15 per hour for the first 40 hours and $22.50 per hour for the last 2 hours. The FLSA sets the workweek at 7 consecutive 24-hour periods. Employers need not schedule workweeks to coincide with the standard calendar week, but they cannot average 2 weeks' work to avoid paying overtime. They must also pay overtime on the regular payday for the week in which the employee worked. Record keeping. Employers must display an official poster outlining the basic provisions of the FLSA. They must also track basic information for each non-exempt worker. This information includes the worker's name, social security number, address, birth date, hours worked, pay rate, and date of payment. Child labor. Children under 14 years old are prohibited from working in jobs that are covered under the FLSA. This means that they are mostly restricted to jobs such as babysitting, household chores, and newspaper delivery. Children under the age of 14 may also work for their family business provided that their family wholly owns the company. Children between the ages of 14 and 16 may work outside of school hours at any non-hazardous, non-manufacturing occupation. Hazardous occupations include mining, metalworking, and working around toxic chemicals. At age 16 or above, younger workers may work in any non-hazardous, non-agricultural job without time restriction. They may also work in agricultural jobs, even those that are deemed hazardous by the Secretary of Labor. What isn't covered by the Fair Labor Standards Act? The FLSA doesn't cover the following: time off, including vacation time, sick leave, or holiday, paid time off, meal or rest periods, pay raises, or benefits, reasons or notice for discharge. However, other federal, state, or local laws may cover some of these provisions. For example, the Worker Adjustment and Retraining Notification (WARN) Act mandates advance notice for some plant closings and mass layoffs. What is the purpose of the Fair Labor Standards Act? The purpose of the Fair Labor Standards Act is to regulate wages, overtime pay, record keeping, and child labor for workers. When was the Fair Labor Standards Act (FLSA) established? The Fair Labor Standards Act (FLSA) was established in 1938. Our journey through the Fair Labor Standards Act has illuminated the profound impact of this landmark legislation on the American workforce. As we wrap up our exploration, it becomes abundantly clear that the FLSA isn't merely a collection of legal statutes. It represents a commitment to fairness, dignity, and the pursuit of a better quality of life for workers across the nation. Through the FLSA, we've witnessed the assurance of a minimum wage, the prevention of child labor, and the guarantee of overtime pay, all designed to protect the rights and well-being of employees. We've also uncovered the intricacies of its application, from determining exempt and non-exempt status to understanding the complexities of record-keeping and compliance. Yet, the FLSA's relevance extends beyond the pages of the law books. It is a testament to the continuous evolution of labor rights and the resilience of American workers. While the world of work is ever-changing, the core principles enshrined in the FLSA, fairness, equality, and a commitment to a dignified workplace remain steadfast. As we part ways today, I hope this video has not only provided you with a deeper understanding of the Fair Labor Standards Act, but also instilled a sense of appreciation for the historical struggle that led to its creation and the ongoing efforts to uphold its principles. Whether you are an employer striving for compliance or an employee asserting your rights, the FLSA serves as a vital guidepost in navigating the complex landscape of labor relations. Thank you for joining us on this educational journey through the Fair Labor Standards Act. Please like, share, and subscribe to continue exploring essential topics like this one. And remember, informed workers and employers make for a stronger, more equitable workplace for all.